It is so important that we're always on time.
So why are you always late?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a cultural issue or if it's just something that, we're just not planning properly.
I think that's excuses. We just need to start earlier, getting ready, and get there on time. It is rude, and it makes everybody all frustrated to have to rush to get to places when we can't get there. We need to step it up. We need to get there on time. That's just the way it is. You're all wrong.
You're listening to Marriage Mania, where we are audacious, sagacious, and tenacious for the Lord to uphold godly marriages and to raise fervent children who are countercultural and stand for biblical truth.
Welcome back. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Michael.
And today we're going to talk about being on time and the importance of what that means and our tasks, our daily living, our schedules. All of this stuff plays into our time management. And I know that there's so many things out there about having proper time management. And also when you're raising children, it could be a lot of stuff going on, but are those excuses? Are those opportunities for us to evaluate why we may not be on time for certain things or why we feel rushed when we're going somewhere or we're trying to make it to that place to the dot? And so I think this is a great topic for us to discuss and how it affects your marriage, how it affects your kids, how it affects you. And so I'll go first because I know that I was raised in a Hispanic culture. I'm not using my background as an excuse, but it's a little bit more of a relaxed type of timing when
just kind of get there when we get there.
Yeah. So if there's something that needs to be done at 2:00, if it's not something like somebody that's waiting on you where you have a massive appointment, like a doctor's appointment at 2:00, you are going to be there on time. But if it's like an event or you have to go somewhere or friends are inviting you, is it okay to be 30 minutes late, 15 minutes late, 5 minutes late? I mean, does that put a lot of pressure? I know it's I'm divided. So being raised in a Hispanic culture, there was always things that were pressing with, hey, we're going to have something at 2:00, but we never started until 3:00. It's just the way it was. And even as we attended Spanish churches over the years and going to quinceañeras, going to weddings, going to parties that we would have at the church, just gatherings that you just show up an hour late and it's okay. And there's not that feeling of oh my gosh, we're so late. But with the American culture, and I'm an American, we have so many things on our schedule. Our schedule gets so packed from the day-to-day grind, from all of the activities, and one could wisely say, okay, well then you need to look at your schedule. You need to look to see, okay, if you've got 5 different activities, maybe you need to cut back. If you're involved in church, your nights are taken up every single night, then you need to start looking and guarding your calendar. And I think all those are important. But if we begin to guard our calendar so much so, we're not really involved in fellowship. So it's that catch-22, and then you've got places you've got to go, and it can cause a lot of stress. And for me, I do get a bit stressed because I'm oh my gosh, we've got to be there at 3:00, and here we are leaving at 2:45 or 2:40, and it puts an urgency to get there. And I don't know if the expectation is more on us and putting more pressure on ourselves, or is time management completely off, especially when you're talking with children? Because if you're we've got to be ready, you give them an hour in advance, you got to get ready. But things for children are a bit slower. So do you get ready 2 hours ahead of time? And maybe that's the case. But when we're talking about being on time, I know you and I have major differences when it comes to that. I'm it's okay if we get there exactly at 3:00. And you're no, it's not okay. And so I just want to take some time to talk about this and what we do and what we're trying to do. And maybe this relates to something like that you're going through right now, but I want to be real and transparent around how it impacts the marriage and how it impacts the family.
Yeah, and we definitely have a difference
Very.
here, where I like to be early to things. And
early is like 30 minutes
well,
in
at least,
advance.
yeah, or 15 minutes at least. Versus you obviously like to be there right when it starts. I mean, if it starts at 6 o'clock, you don't want to get there a minute earlier. It's 6 o'clock, and sometimes we got to really struggle to get there by 6, or so if we're a little late, we're walking in 5 minutes late, then that's okay. I'm like, man, that stresses me out to be late, and I don't want to feel like I'm rushing to get there. I like to get there in plenty of time to get settled, get everything settled, and maybe even talk to a few people beforehand, get my mind set and ready for either if it's a class or for church or whatever. I want to make sure that my heart is prepared, my mind is prepared, and I'm in a relaxed mode, and I'm not just like, I just sat down and I'm out of breath and I'm rushed, and it's like, okay, and it's like, all right, it's already started, and we're already going through, but it's taken me probably 3 hymns before I'm now starting to relax a little bit. Can I get relaxed by the time that the sermon starts? And who's all here? I have no idea. I had to don't talk to me. I got to bypass everybody because we're late. And it's just, so it's very frustrating. And I come from a mindset where it's kind of rude, if to go into to be, it's disruptive to kind of come in the middle of something like a class or a church service or whatever, where now people have to get up and maybe move in order to give you a place to sit. All the eyes turn to see who just came in. It's distracting for the other students and other people in the church service. It's distracting for the pastor. And if you have a teacher that put forth a lot of effort to teach this class, then
you're speaking from experience.
Yes, I mean, it was a little frustrating as a teacher when it's like, okay, I know class starts at 9:30, but at 9:30, there's nobody there for class. And I taught a class of 30 people. Nobody's there at 9:30. You usually have to wait till about 9:45 until you have
start rolling
at least most people there, and still people are arriving late all the way up till half hour later. And I know I like to start on time to keep that precedent. Otherwise the time gets pushed back, but I know I can't really start with my actual class yet. So I usually kind of use that as a time to let's pray. Let's kind of talk about what everybody did last week, or let's do some review of last week's lesson. Just kind of some preliminary stuff, because I want to start on time, but it can't be the actual meat of the class yet. So my class is shortened, and it's those kind of things that can be frustrating. But I struggle with this a little bit because, as you talked about, there is a cultural difference and there is a personality difference. There are cultures that are more relaxed with time. They see time differently. They don't want to see it as just like this strict thing. When you say a wedding starts at 2, that's just a rough estimate of when you're supposed to when you're kind of supposed to be there, and everybody just kind of recognizes
for certain
that
cultures
it's not going to start until maybe 3 or 3:30 when everybody's there. Like the Hispanic culture. I remember the first time we showed up for a wedding that was supposed to be at 2:00. We showed up at 2:00. Nobody was there. It's like, didn't this start?
My friend was so funny.
Didn't it start at 2:00?
She said
nobody was there.
That was
Did we
just
get the wrong time.
Yeah, she said that was just a rough estimate to make sure, but it's really at 3:30.
Yeah, so we learned we had to kind of ask people. It's like, all right, what time do you really kind of plan on starting? You said 2, but like, what time do you really kind of plan on this starting? But if you recognize that that's part of the culture, then you're not really late when you show up at 3, because everybody just kind of recognizes 2 is a rough estimate, and it's really going to be about 3 or 4 that we get started, and you just kind of wait till everybody's kind of ready and you go. And if that's the understanding, you're not really late. But if you got like a class that starts at 2:00,
yeah,
the understanding is that it starts at 2, then shouldn't we be there 10 minutes early to be kind of ready and everybody's settled to be able to actually start at 2:00? That's always kind of been my mindset. But what do you do when you're, and this is a common issue. I mean, a lot of times you have one spouse who's a person that really likes to be early to places, and the other spouse is just like, yeah, we'll just kind of get there when we get there. I'm not going to rush. And, and you could tell, I mean, I could tell by like, it's like if it's got to be there at 2, it's like I'm already ready to go and I want to go now. And I'm looking over at my wife, and she hasn't even started to get ready yet.
No, don't
And
say
I'm
that.
yeah, because
No,
I can tell that no
no.
matter how much I try to be like, we need to go now, we need to go now, we are not leaving. And if it takes 15 minutes to get there, we are not leaving until 15 minutes till. That is just not
Okay.
happening. No matter how much I'm like, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go.
Okay. So, moms, I'm sure you can relate with me. The mom is always the last one to get ready, right? So we could get a little help from our spouses, our husbands, with to get the kids ready, because you have to get the kids ready. If they're not ready, then you're still trying to hurry up. But I normally do try my hardest to be ready halfway, in a halfway sense, where I have to just get my clothes together. But, one of the biggest things going back to being on time, it is really important to do that, because it does show honor and respect to the person that you're attending, whatever it is that you're attending, and you want to be respectful and honoring to them. But also, it's important for us to realize, like, how are we managing our time? And that does cause conflict, because I know it's caused conflict with us before. And especially when you were teaching at church, and you were teaching in the morning, you would get up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, you would study, and we all had to hurry up and be at church by 8:30, and class didn't even start till 9:30. And so that caused a lot of frustration, because we're like, it doesn't start till 9:30. And you're like, but I have to be there, and I have to write all this stuff on the board. And so it was very difficult. And that's the biblical role of a wife, right? You have to submit to those things, and try your hardest to be honoring and respectful to your spouse, your husband, because he is trying to get something together. He's got an important thing that he's got to teach. And so we all need to be on time. Teaching our daughter to be on time is a little bit challenging, and that probably also is fruit from our labor of, okay, dad really wants to be on time, mom is kind of like, okay, we'll get there when we get there. And that just makes things kind of complicated. So I think one of the big takeaways is making sure that we're on the same page, because if we're not, then we're kind of teaching our children to have a different mindset. Like, well, I'll go with dad's side, or I'll go with mom's side, depending on their personality. Yeah, it'll be more relaxing if we just take it easy, but there are consequences of being late, right? There, especially like if you're performing, or if you're doing something that is super important and you're late, you have a consequence. People are upset with you, or people are depending on you, and then that causes their dependency and your integrity, for whatever it is that you're doing, to go down, because people are like, well, I don't know if I can trust you to be here on time. And so that's really, really important. And it's important to me. I want to be on time. I definitely do. So I'm not here on this podcast to bash myself, to say I'm never on time. I want to be on time. I want to make sure that our family's on time, and I want to make sure that all the ducks in a row. But there's also role differences and gender differences, I truly believe, because moms tend to do a little bit more, and not that they're expected to, but there's just, it seems like there's more of an expectation, like, I've got to get this ready, I got to get breakfast ready, I've got to get this, I got to get that. And I'm last, I'm always last to get ready or to prepare. And I think those things probably need to be reversed a little bit more. So, like, okay, I need to put myself as a priority, kind of like on the plane, put your mask on first before you put the mask on to your kids, just making sure that you're taking care of yourself and getting yourself together, so that you know that you're going to be on time. I mean, it seems like no matter what time I wake up, it's always like I can wake up at 4 a.m, and it just seems like the time, just, time management, super important.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I do in the morning, like for church. It's like I get up early in order to. I know I can't get myself ready while trying to also get others ready for church. So I get myself ready before anybody else wakes up, and I usually have time to just kind of wait and like, okay, nobody's waking. It's like they should be up by now, and it's like so I try to get them waking, but it's like it's hard to get other people moving, especially if they're not morning people. And so it's like it's like I'm so relaxed because I get up in plenty of time to get myself ready. But then when I see other people, they get up in just enough time to be able to shoot themselves out like out of a cannon in order to be able to get them on time. It's like now I got to amp up and get repped up because I got to help them while we're all running around with like a chicken with their head cut off, just trying to get stuff ready. And I remember Lisa Turkhurst had a guest on her podcast one time, asked the very same question. It's like, I like to be really early to places. My wife just doesn't. And
I think it's a role thing.
It was kind of funny because her, well, I don't think it's a gender thing. It's just a difference in personality. If you got one spouse that just likes to be early and one person that doesn't, then you're gonna have to figure out how to manage that issue. Trying to change the other person into an early person is going to be an uphill battle, and her solution was, well, why don't you just take two cars or you tell your spouse, I'm going to leave at this time. I would love for you to be with me. Nothing would please me more than anything. But if you're not, that's perfectly fine. I'll meet you there. And I brought that up to you one time. And you're like, you looked at me like we had two heads. It's like, first of all, we ain't taking two cars. We're not using twice the gas, and we do everything together. We go to church together, and it's like, and if you start getting in the habit of kind of doing things separately too much, that can kind of disrupt the marriage oneness. So if you can kind of come to an agreement with this, that's the better. But if one really has to be somewhere early, like my dad was a pastor, he had to get to church super early and get ready. And my mom just had to get all the kids ready and come at a later time. And so, sometimes that's just the case. But if you can come together, then that's probably ideal. And if you can come to some kind of agreement, but this might be one of those things where you have to really have kind of understanding of each other. Gary Thomas, who wrote Sacred Marriage, the famous book Sacred Marriage, had the same issue. He's get to places early person, and his wife is not. And he finally came to the conclusion, I'm not going to change her. I need to learn how to accept it. And I'm just going to be late to places, and I just got to be okay with that. And it's, sometimes we have to gain that understanding. But if also the people that, if you have a spouse that likes to be early, if we can try to accommodate that as well. I mean, I think it's okay. We both need to say, this is the way I am. You're just going to have to learn to live with it. No, we need the marriage oneness is about moving towards each other in some way. And we need to be flexible, and we need to be willing. Oh, this is really important to them. I'm going to try in order to meet this desire that they have to be early, and it's really important. And I could see the value in that. And so for their sake, I'm going to try to be early. And then from my standpoint, I got to be okay with being late sometimes. As much as it might stress me out, I just got to just relax and be calm. It's not the end of the world. There's so many other people that are late. I know I feel it's rude, and I feel like I'm being rude to people, but it's okay. Just let it go. I got to have some understanding.
Right. And again, this isn't about us saying that we're always late. We are working on our time management, and that's super important. And it's important that we teach that to our children as well. We want to be honoring and respectful. And, God wants us to honor one another, right? So, the husband is to love her and honor her. It is a blessing. You've got the roles of a husband and roles of a wife, where a wife respects her husband and the husband loves her. And I think these things going back and forth, to put this with time management or being late, it's the same thing, where we want to honor our husband because he's like, I really want to be on time. And so you make that extra effort to try your hardest, the best you possibly can, to be able to honor that. And I think those little steps help to make him feel like, wow, she does love me, and she's taking those efforts. And then if the wife is just like, I'm trying so hard, but it seems like we're always late, we're trying, that the husband sees, wow, I recognize your effort and I love you for that. And I know that you're trying. I think that really gives encouragement to one another, and it shows the honor to one another and how you are bringing together your marriage and having that oneness, and you're really trying to tackle this problem. I personally, I think America just has so many events. We just have a very fast paced environment here in America. It's like you've got to hurry up and go, go, go. And you're constantly racing against time. And that's not God's design. I literally been thinking a lot about that, because God wants us to rest in those moments where we don't have something to do. And there's always something to do. We always talk about how we are never bored here. There's always something, but we need to make sure that we have the right time management so that we can be on time to those important places, those events, those things that we want to participate in.
Yes, and the Bible talks about time. The Ecclesiastes is a time of purpose for everything under heaven, and lists the different times: time to be born, a time to die, a time to throw stones, a time to gather stones. Ephesians 4:16 talks about we are to redeem the time, that for the days are evil. That there is a time limit to things. The clock is ticking, and we need to use every moment to its benefit, and to have a purpose for what we're doing, and not waste any time. And part of that is about being on time to places and not being late. But at the same time, it's okay to be relaxed with the time at times, especially if you're going over to somebody's house and it's not really a complete set time in order to be there. And, maybe there's a compromise in there. I like to be 20 minutes early to places. That ain't going to happen. But maybe if we're there 5 minutes early, and we're engaging to do that, maybe that's a good, healthy compromise in this situation when we're dealing with they are personality differences, and they can be cultural differences on that can be influencing on how we view time and how important it is to be on time. And it's also an anxiety issue. For some people, it stresses them out to be late. And they feel like it's rude. And so, we don't want to put that on the other person where it's like, man, I just feel like I'm offending people, and I'm offending the speaker by being late. And I really like to be early to be able to talk to people beforehand. And it's really important to me. And so, we need to recognize that in the other spouse, and try to accommodate that. And then the other person needs to accommodate that, we're not going to be as early as you want to be. And that's okay, and it's okay to be late sometimes, and we need, and it's okay not to be stressed out about it as well. So there could be, that's what marriage oneness is about, is merging our differences together in a way, that's loving and caring, and we're looking out for the other person, and we're moving towards the other person, not away. I'm not just hunkering down in this is the way I am. I'm not changing. You just need to deal with it. It's my way or the highway. That's not what marriage is all about. God teaching us to be servants. God uses marriage to teach us how to serve one another, to look out for someone else's interests other than just my own. And so when we're joined lives together, I got another person to consider, and their feelings and their attitudes and their personalities. And we need to try to figure out how to make those one, and how to operate in a way that considers the other person. And so it's our differences that give us our exercise in that. Where we agree, that's simple. We're both people that like to be early to places. That's not going to be an issue in our marriage. But if one likes to be early and the other's not that important to them, that's going to cause some friction. And we need to figure out how to manage that, and how to have understanding of the different personalities in those regards.
Great point. And that tells me about an announcement that I want to make at the end of this podcast, because we're talking about time and we need to be on time with everything. And so we definitely want to make sure that we are being very considerate about our spouse and just all the things that we have, our schedules. We need to look at our schedules, making sure that our schedules are available to make it on time. And so that's something that I definitely want to practice. I keep trying so hard, and I can beat up myself and say, oh man, I did this and I tried. and we barely made it. And, there should be grace in that, because it's the trying and the effort that we need to look at. It's not the, I don't care, we're not going to make it. It's the, I'm trying, and you need to be a team to be able to help each other so that you can make that happen. So yeah, I'm just thrilled that we could talk about this, and I'm just really excited that we're not alone. We are so excited that we're going to be teaching at the Teach Them Diligently conference on May 7th through the 9th. That's so exciting. And we're going to be joined by so many brothers and sisters in Christ. We are excited to see our friends Will and Mickey Addison. There's going to be Ken Ham's going to be there. Leslie Nunnery is going to be teaching. There's so many speakers out there. You can check that out on the teachthemdiligently.net, and you can register and you can get a 20% off if you register with the link that's in the comment. But we are so excited because this is a huge conference, and they've been doing this for 14 years. And it touches so many lives. I think we were told that it was around 12,000 people that attend this conference. And we are just honored. We are so grateful to the Teach Them Diligently team to be able to be a part of that. So if you are interested to learn more about homeschooling and what you can do and how you can get yourself prepared for the upcoming fall of 2026, and you are in the area or in the, surrounding states, you should join, and you can get 20% off. So check that out in our comments, and we hope to see you at the 2026 Teach Them Diligently conference.